and delusional, dark and delusional, dark and delusional, dark and delusional.
Give me a signal if you need a beer, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Here,
I'll just say, give me a beer.
All right.
Well, I have a return guest who is one of my favorite people on the planet we call Earth. His alias is Dylan. That is not his real name. That is an alias because we remain totally anonymous on this show, and everything you hear is made up for your enjoyment. Anyway, Dylan, as being the theme of the show, the guest always picks the topic.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Dark and Delusional. And welcome back.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
We got two dogs with us too, so
I had such a fucking goofy time the first time. I had no choice but to force myself upon another episode.
Now, do you like the studio? You like the new studio?
I tell you what, for everyone listening, this guy has built a fucking empire on a fucking sandbox, let me tell you. Nobody thought it was possible, but I mean, holy hell, dude. We got like 3 or 4 dogs crammed in here. Someone's been trying to log in at Amazon Prime Video on this TV but can't remember their password.
No, it's my kid. She just hops on the remote and just owns the technology.
God damn it. It's awesome. It's like 180 degrees. I love it hot.
Anyway, I already know the topic and I'm excited for it because I didn't think we'd be doing something like this on the show, but we are here because it is dark and it's delusional. And
dark and delusional.
Dude, you know what people been saying? They're just like, I love the theme song to the show.
I know, you were asking me for ideas, and I was like, don't change anything. I was like, I think it's fucking awesome. Dark and delusional. I can't do that noise.
Dude, such just Audacity trash beats.
Alright, so I had such a good time the first time around that I started thinking about it, and I kind of like forced an idea on you. I was like, hey, for your show, you ever think about doing like a movie review? And you're like, yeah, I don't know, I mean, that might be cool. Today we're going to talk about this movie. If it's not my favorite movie,
Marley, go away.
Frig off.
God, I have the most annoying dog.
It's okay.
It's my wife's dog, I blame her.
She's cute, but I'm not allowed to drop kick it. But
I think about drop kicking it daily, and I love animals.
So yeah, you should definitely put a lot of things in there, like edit around this.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna keep that in.
All right, so yeah, I imposed this idea on the host because if this isn't my favorite movie, it's top 2 or top 3, and nobody talks about it ever.
I never heard of it.
Nobody has.
I never even heard of it. It's obviously so big of a deal that I'm stating right here so I don't have to state later in the podcast that I got permission from the company that produced this episode to use up to 4 minutes of audio in it because I told them that I thought it was a badass movie and I wanted to use some audio clips because it's fucking hilarious.
Man, you really should have asked me first because if you knew anything about like the production and this distributor of this movie, they would have been like, shit, talk about it for free. Like, we don't care.
That's pretty much what they did.
Yeah.
Like, think about 4 minutes of audio on a podcast. Like, that's so much fucking time.
Okay, so whatever. So today, because I'll get into that about, like, the weird, like, distribute.
You're like a goddamn armchair fucking genius on this shit. Anyway, what's the fucking movie called?
Alright, Frankenhooker. Let's see, this is let's see, what year did this come out? Cool.
I think it's 1990. Yeah.
Well, it was released on VHS in 1990, so maybe a couple years before. I gotta take these sunglasses off. I can't see shit with these notes. But yeah, Frankenhooker. It was a movie that was distributed by Troma Films. Are you familiar at all?
Well, yeah, that's a company. I looked up who made the company so I could ask for permission to use.
Bro,
and I'm just saying that so the YouTube algorithm does not corrupt this video and this video goes on YouTube.
No, dude, Troma, dude, they don't give a fuck, dude. Like, okay, so just for like a little backstory of like how wacky this movie is. So Troma Films was a film distributor Also, like, so it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain. In the 80s and 90s up until now, like as of recent as last year, they make movies, but they also, if they see a movie that, like, an indie movie that they really fuck with, they'll, like, they're like, dude, we gotta distribute this, because this is gold. So they've done all the Toxic Avenger movies. Those are fucking classic. Brain Damage 1 and 2, Basket Case. They've also put out like awesome shit like Surf Nazis Must Die.
You've watched all this shit. I haven't heard of like any of those films.
Dude, and like the thing is, it's like, yeah, it's like indie schlock. It's like peak indie schlock. Like, you can watch like a really bad movie that didn't have a budget and it's boring. These movies are not fucking boring.
No. I've only seen Frankenhooker, but that movie was definitely not boring at all.
No, it's not boring. And honestly, like, Frankenhooker is one, because they didn't make this one. They just distributed it.
Well, so they didn't make Frankenhooker?
No, they didn't. So,
but they have rights to it.
Yeah, they picked the film up. And
they picked the film up.
Yeah.
So kind of like how a record company picks up a band? Kind of deal. Like, I don't get this. Like,
so like I don't understand the ins and outs either. But like indie films can like, yeah, I guess it's the same. Like, they make a movie or make an album and then try to sell it. Don't quote me on that, but. Because Troma Films, they, like, Toxic Avenger, that's their movie. I think I said Basket Case. I think that's their movie, too. I'm not sure. But Toxic Avenger, there was, like, fucking, I don't even know how many
Toxic
of those.
Avenger is, like, definitely Toshiba.
No, like, so, Troma Films, like, Toxic Avenger, that's, like, their Mickey Mouse, Toxic Avenger. And if you haven't seen any of those are also on Peacock, and they're fucking awesome. None of these movies are scary at all. They're just extremely bloody, and they're...
I'm gonna dude, maybe we'll do... I'm gonna check it out. I still have Peacock. For some reason, I still have Peacock, even though I haven't paid for Comcast for a year, dude. I fucking, like, just typed in my Peacock email, like, on Peacock, and it's all there. Like, I'm not paying anything for it, and I'm just using Peacock. And I think that's Comcast's problem, and I think they make enough money that they can afford to let me watch Peacock for free. Besides the point, Frankenhooker is the subject of tonight, so they picked up this film. So who made the film? Because okay. They did not make... Toma did not make the film.
Alright, so a couple things. So it was...
But it fit, like, Toma's theme, right? It seems like all their movies are, like, quirky and out like that.
It definitely, like, has Troma Films vibes. And honestly, it's... I don't know how you felt about the production, but, like, as far as, like, a schlocky horror comedy, I was actually really impressed.
I thought it was designed meticulously.
Yes.
I thought, like, the scene progression and everything that happened in this film, like, happened just so well planned out, man. Like, they had, like, a whole storyboard of the shit, honestly.
And for such a low budget, I think the special effects, like, were, like, pretty, like, convincing. I wouldn't say convincing, but, like...
Well, nothing about the movie's convincing.
No.
But they look good, definitely.
Especially for the time, too.
Oh, man, I can't wait to tell you my favorite scene in the movie, because it has to do with that right there. My favorite... Oh, it's just...
I already know what you're going to say, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, right.
So,
let's place bet. What are we betting right now that you know what I'm going to say? Because I'm going to bring this up later.
Is it the room full of exploding prostitutes?
I mean, yeah, but it's something particularly that happens in the room during that sequence.
Well, I got to send some notes about it, so let's get into it. So,
all right.
So this movie was directed by a guy...
Right, who made the movie, though? Like, originally?
I don't know who produced it, but it was...
Okay.
But it was directed by, and I'm going to butcher his last name, I think Frankenhooker. I think that's how you say his last name. And he also directed the Basket Case trilogy. And if you've never seen any of the Basket Case movies, those are fucking gold too.
We'll do, maybe this will be your thing. Maybe you want to just do all these movies on the podcast.
Dude, fuck it. And I would love to, because like anyone
Well, dude, look at this. People who can't fucking see this. You hear this? Dude, this motherfucker who failed fucking school came here with a goddamn, like, handwritten notes of Wikipedia on the movie Frankenhooker, and to me, it's more impressive than most research papers I've read when I was in college. This motherfucker came loaded to the gun, and I think you should do the movie review series with me. Look at this! I know you guys can't see, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking a picture of this right now, and it's going to be the fucking image for the Frankenhooker when...
Listen, host. I didn't fail school. I didn't give him a chance. Ugh.
School didn't give me a chance.
Yeah, school can suck my dick. Drop out of school and watch Frankenhooker. It fucking rules. You know how much Frankenhooker rules? The host. I have the poster of this movie hung up in my room, and there's a famous quote that they quote on the movie poster and on all the DVD releases and everything, and it says, and this is quoted by fucking Bill Murray. Okay,
Who's Bill Murray?
It was quoted by Bill Murray, and he stated, "If you only see one movie this year, it should be Frankenhooker." And they asked Bill Murray, they're like, "Hey, can we use that to, like, you know, get this?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's an awesome movie. I fucking loved it."
Yeah, dude.
All right.
I mean, honestly, like, the whole podcast, we're going to be raving about this movie, because I think, like, now that obviously Dylan liked it, but, I mean, I obviously like it too, and me and Dylan purposely did not want to know my opinions on the movie or anything like that.
Yeah, so before I go any further, I should have asked, what'd you think of the movie?
Well, I think it's fucking awesome, Dylan.
Fuck yeah. Right.
The movie is it's definitely corny. It's definitely a corny movie, but it is so well put together and, like, so excellent in every regard that we're gonna give you a whole, like, breakdown movie. That's what we're doing.
All right. So yeah, the same guy that directed this, Frank Henenlotter, he directed the Basket Case trilogy, and if you haven't seen those, they're fucking amazing. And he also directed 1988's classic Brain Damage, and Brain Damage is fucking insane. Also, the host, that's also on Peacock if you want to check that out. So the budget for this movie...
Isn't that a Katy Perry song?
Brain Damage?
Peacock.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if she peed on my cock. I don't know.
Peacock.
Oh. I take it back. I don't really want it.
That's it. Yeah.
Alright, so I want you to guess what the budget for this movie was.
$5,000.
Okay, it's more. You want to guess again?
$9,000.
$2.5 million.
The budget for Frankenhooker
Yes.
was 2.5? No way.
Yeah.
Wait. No, all right, dude, that changes my perspective on the film a bit because I cannot believe it looks like a B film and it
is a B movie.
But it had a $2.5 million fucking.
Dude, well, yeah, they had to create all those sets and those insane, like, laboratory settings.
The sets are amazing.
The set design is crazy.
Honestly, the whole movie I just can't believe $2.5 million back in 1990. Wasn't that, like, more money?
I don't fucking know, man.
Inflation and shit.
I'm sitting here watching Frankenhooker. I don't know about inflation in the 80s.
Yeah, right. Let's stick to what you know. All right.
So the budget was $2.5 million. How much do you think that the movie made in the box office? So, like, theaters alone. How much do you think?
Theaters. Well, so this was a theater release.
Well, every movie it was.
Not every. Then. Oh, back then, yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, there was direct to VHS.
I want to guess that the movie made.
And this is theater
releases. I'm gonna guess $250,000.
Okay, reduce that by $45,000.
So $205,000.
Yeah,
I was pretty close.
So
but that's criminal. They made nothing of the movie, pretty much.
Dude, they ate their asses. Yeah. On this movie. Even with Bill Murray's endorsement, they ate their asses.
It's no wonder that the movie was like, yeah, use audio clips, like great, like we're.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you is like the general public fucking hates these movies, but like anyone with like as somewhat of a creative brain can appreciate these movies and be like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you know.
Well, that's the feeling, dude. Honestly, the feeling I got, like, dude, it seemed like the perfect movie to sit on my couch with one of my buddies and just drunk as fuck and just watch Frankenhooker. Like, it's just,
dude,
that kind of movie in my opinion. That's what it's like.
I'll talk about it after we like roll through the whole movie, but I have ruined so many people's perspectives on me for like introducing this movie to them.
Well, my perspective was already fucked up, so you're alright, buddy. Nothing changed between us after I watched the movie.
Well, fitting with the theme of the last episode I was on, where most of my ghostly encounters were happening when I was like, you know, trying to get laid. I shoot away a lot of girls by showing them this movie.
You want to watch this? Oh, you're going to love this movie, sweetheart. It's one of my favorites. But to be honest, I just like, I know we're not in the movie yet, but it's not like this isn't like really a horror film at all to me. Like
it's like a funny movie.
It's a funny movie, dude.
It's really violent.
It's almost satirical. Like it's fucking like it's. We'll get into that. Like honestly, all right, just continue. I'm excited. To talk
it reminds me like it's in the same tone as like maybe like Evil Dead 2. Have you ever seen the Evil Dead movies?
Yeah. Ash the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Bro, we were talking about this the other night. Of course.
So like Ash versus Evil Dead, it's not scary, but it's incredibly.
It's horror influenced, right?
It's incredibly violent, but it's also super funny. And it's also like super self-aware. This movie's super self-aware. I mean, it's called Frankenhooker. They're not trying to make Citizen Kane over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no shit.
So let's talk about the cast. So
so I will say I did like take note of the cast because I never paid attention to actors, but when you told me we were doing this for an episode, I paid attention to that shit.
Okay.
And I never recognized them anywhere else.
All right, so well, there's a couple reasons.
When you tell the cast, also like say what character they played in the movie.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah, dude, I was just saying you guys should see this goddamn packet in front of me, dude.
I only had to rewatch this movie halfway through, and I was like, I got it. Like, I've seen this movie so many fucking times.
All done.
So what did you think? All right, so Elizabeth, aka the Frankenhooker, what did you think of her performance?
I thought it was amazing.
That's what I think.
Dude, honestly, I don't want to like go into it too much without telling what happens in the movie, but I will say this because it's on my mind right now, like this movie did such a good job. So, like, the whole thing is, like, at the beginning of the movie.
The casting is amazing.
Dude, she's, like, supposedly this overweight girl that eats too many pretzels, right?
Yep.
But, like, when you see her in the movie, like,
she's
it's
super
clearly
fucking
padding.
hot.
Dude, yeah, she's super hot. She's like, you can visibly see padding, like, making her look fucking fat.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, dude, the first scene, before she gets ran over by the fucking automatic fucking...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
dude, so you can see she's padded to look bigger, because it's her body that plays the thin Frankenhooker at the end of the movie.
That's the movie's version of her fat? I still wanted to hit that.
Yeah,
like,
dude, seriously, yeah, no. Anyway, totally gorgeous girl. I think she played a phenomenal role in the film because she went from, like, the perfect, like, you know, suburbia bullshit. And then she gets reanimated, but part of her reanimation is, like... And she just constantly does a good job, like, saying the same lines. Like, and by the way, all the lines I notice that she says throughout the movie when she's reanimated... You want a date?
You got any money?
But it's all lines that were used prior in the movie. Like, those were the hookers that were saying those lines at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And that makes no sense to you.
You looking for some action?
Dudes, literally, that makes no sense to you guys right now, but it will. Welcome to Frankenhooker.
So, I also am in love with her performance. I guess she occasionally does, like... Comic-Con and like she does like weird like horror-con appearances, but other than that, she wasn't an actress. She was a penthouse model.
She was a penthouse? Well, that makes sense. She was gorgeous.
And other than this, she was only in like 3 other movies shortly after this movie. And for whatever, I haven't seen any other movies she was in, but yeah, no, her like physical comedy and like her just like total attention to this role is like super. It's like she does such a good fucking job. And then so the guy that we follow throughout the movie, Dr. Franken, aka Jeffrey, was played by this guy James Lorenz. And he's been in some stuff, but like same, it's like everyone in this movie, like they like really fucking peaked and they killed it so hard.
They like all came together. Like I cannot, to be honest, it's a shame. Like, by the way you were asking the question, I knew the movie didn't make a lot of money, you know, so I guessed low. But me not knowing that before you said that would have thought the movie did all right because it put together like a masterpiece, man.
Well, so me and you have 2025 eyes watching this movie.
That's true.
Back in, what was it, 1990? Back in 1990 eyes? Yeah, like, there was, like, a weird subculture of, like, weirdos who are also into this shit. But the masses were like, this fucking sucks. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a huge following for this movie now. Not even huge. I don't know. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. Anyway. Alright, so yeah. So we meet Dr. Franken, a.k.a. Jeffrey, played by James Lorenz. What'd you think about his performance?
Well, first I'm gonna
the main
I'm gonna
character,
note
basically.
that he's married to the girl who plays Frankenhooker. Engaged. You're right. They're about to get married.
They're about to get married.
Yeah. They're engaged. She dies in a tragic.
Oh yeah, we're getting to that.
A tragic accident. Obviously, like from the first scene of the movie, you know this dude's fucked up. Like, and I think the acting he did is superb because.
Thank you.
Well, I did
not expect you to say any of this.
I think it's superb in the aspect that he
commits.
He did. He brought that role to life in the most perfect way, and in a different way. To be honest, I still think the girl actor, like her role was way harder than Nail. Honestly, but he brought that role to life, and I love. You wanna know? I know, since we're talking about cats, you know who my favorite character in the movie is?
Is it Zorro the pimp?
Oh, I mean, I am a fan, but no, I thought the mother's fucking a performer, and dude, she's only in the movie for one scene.
A couple scenes,
but
they're quick.
But the first scene she's in is the longest showtime she has.
So, her name is Louise Lasser, and she has been in a million fucking things.
She looked familiar.
And you know what? She was also married to Woody Allen for like 6 years.
No shit.
Yeah. She was married to Woody Allen up until 1966 to 1970. And she's the only person in this movie that's been in the most movies. Like, she was in a lot of shit. I mean, I didn't feel like listing it here, but if you just, like, IMDb Louise Lasser, like, she's in so much. So she's, like, the only one that, like, had a career, kept a career going after this movie. And it's really weird because everyone in this movie is so fucking good. You would think that, like, they could have applied this sort of energy.
Dude, like,
to,
seriously,
like,
the
more
movie,
roles.
I agree with that. The movie gave off the vibe that it was a B movie with, like, A actors. Like,
yeah.
To me. Like, the acting is superb in this movie,
also,
in my opinion.
Just a quick mention. So, Zorro the Pimp, he's another, like, big character. He was acted by Joseph Gonzalez, and he was also in Brain Damage, another one of the director's movies that was also distributed by Trauma Films. My favorite, like, thing about this movie, and I did rip this straight off Wikipedia, but I'm just gonna read it word by word. Frankenhooker's initial release was delayed because of difficulty obtaining an R rating from the MPAA.
Why would they have a difficulty obtaining?
Because there's
R
so many boobs and blood and.
But
like,
I mean,
swear
like, wouldn't
words.
that make it R rating? Like, why would
No,
that be?
so if you go too far, they'll give you a NC-17 rating, and it's not allowed to be shown in theaters.
Oh.
So yeah.
I mean, that movie definitely bordered that line, in my opinion, at the time.
Which makes you wonder, like, where's the extra footage?
Because you see tits and shit in this movie, like
tits and shit, and crack, and dick.
It's all there. It's all there.
And the director recalls that one representative of the ratings body actually said in a phone call to the production company's secretary, he said, "Congratulations, you're the first film rated S." And the director was like, S for sex? And he said, no, S for fucking shit.
Oh, that's a fucking crazy, bro.
And to his displeasure, or to his dismay, Henenlotter, the director's conservative parents insisted on attending the film's premiere in New York City, and the director expressed surprise that they were not offended by the movie. Like, so this guy's parents who directed the movie,
yeah,
they fucking loved it. And they're, like, hardcore, like, conservatives. They're like, oh my god, that was so much fun.
But it was. The movie is a good movie, man.
But meanwhile, he's on the phone with the MPAA, and they're like, yeah, this is shit. No one's gonna like this. He's like, my fucking mom and dad did. You know? I just thought that was an interesting...
Poor guy. That is
tidbit.
Interesting. You're right.
And this is a treasure that I've been hunting down for the last... like 5-6 years. When this movie was released on VHS in 1990, there was a button on the actual video case where if you push it, it would go, "Want a date?"
No way.
Yeah.
No way, dude.
And dude, it's like a really like highly sought after fucking like item.
Dude, it's like a cult classic, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like this is.
Well, there's a following now, but it took like 30 fucking years for people to catch up.
And honestly, extremely unfair. Like, I watched the movie one time, and I already know I'm gonna watch it again. It's a special movie. Like, you know, I don't watch many movies that I'm like, yeah, what a gem. You know, like, what, like, if I had to pick 10 movies on my fucking death list, like, this is it, dude. This is going on.
Alright, so now we're starting this fucking movie. So the movie opens up with Jeffrey, our main character, and he's experimenting on like a weird brain in a jar or whatever the I don't even know what he's...
Alright, so my first question is, so the movie does open up just like this, and not later, like right after the fucking girl dies.
And then the bitch came back,
they say,
just like a Frankenhooker.
But dude, it's just like that. Dude, like... Anyway, there's this fucking brain, and it has an eye in it, and there's no real explanation for it, because they never explain where he gets the brain, because Jeffrey works on electricity. Like, he's an electrician for a living, pretty much.
Yeah, but he also flunked out of, like, 14 different, like, medical schools.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So I don't know.
But where would he get the brain from?
Maybe it's not a human brain. Maybe it's like dog brain or something.
But dude, it doesn't even make sense. None of it makes sense.
Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to.
So, yeah, he's like tinkering around with this like weird brain thing in a jar in a kitchen. And so the camera swoops and there's a whole family having a get together for Elizabeth's dad's birthday in the backyard.
Elizabeth is the fiance.
Yes, his fiance. And like everyone's used to like Jeffrey's shit. Like Elizabeth's mom's is like, hey, can you go tell Jeffrey to like knock off the weird stuff for a minute? We're trying to have like a thing, which I kind of relate to, because like I'll be in my room while like family's over, and I'll be in there like fucking like I don't know, like making like collages or like fucking with clay or something. They're like, hey, can you come out and say hi? And I'm like, no,
leave me alone.
Yeah. So Elizabeth is like, yeah, I'll talk to him, whatever. But also like in the family's eyes, like he's harmless enough. They're just like, hey, like, can you get him out of his weird fucking zone and come say hi? And he's like, okay with it. So outside, this is the first reference we get to this where like Elizabeth's mom, so Elizabeth is like snacking on some pretzels. I didn't notice the extra padding in her costume, but to me, she's super fucking hot. And her mom's like, oh honey, like ease up on them pretzels, you'll gain that weight back.
Yeah.
And
But I agree, like, even on the scene, like, where they say that, like, even though she's padded up, I'm like, dude, she's fucking really good looking. I don't... You're not selling it to me. You ain't selling it to me.
I've never looked into her, like, modeling photos, or I only know her from this, but, like, she's a fucking bombshell, dude.
Yeah,
like, I'm like, I don't know what
gorgeous.
She's talking about.
Top tier.
Yeah, in my notes I said, she's on a diet? Why? She's super fucking hot. And then that's when we learn where Jeffrey, he works for New Jersey Electric, but he's a part-time doctor, and he's done a lot of his test surgeries on Elizabeth.
Yeah, dude, like, I think she says... talking to like her cousin or something about what being overweight, which she obviously was.
She was talking about her nose, I think.
No, she wasn't. She's like, I had Jeffrey go in and even clip my stomach.
Oh yeah, she did say that.
Yeah, no, she talked about all these like honestly pretty major surgeries that she let her fiance do on her in order to help her lose weight, supposedly. Yeah. And then involved opening up a body, so obviously it was good enough to do that. The girl wasn't dead.
So like the movie implies that like he kind of knows what he's doing, but he's like super DIY about it.
Yeah.
Like he knows enough, but like he's too like scatterbrained to like be like an actual doctor because he has all these zany fucking ideas.
Right, well, which they do work in the movie. In the movie philosophy, they do work.
Yeah, they do work. And then Jeffrey, so he fucks up his weird brain experiment, and then Elizabeth is like way out of his league. So he's like, he's not a bad looking guy, but he's just like looks like a guy. When the first time you see him in the room together, you're like, I don't know. So anyway, she's like, all right, Jeffrey, come outside. Let's go surprise my dad with the gift that you made him. And what did Jeffrey make for Elizabeth's dad? He made a remote control lawnmower. And this is one of my favorite parts, and it's so early.
Dude, I thought it was a tiller.
No, it was a lawnmower.
It was, dude, well, pretty much, fucking Elizabeth, the remote control, she pushes the button on the remote control lawnmower to show her dad how it works. And she
don't stand in front of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't stand in front of it.
And dude, she literally just stands there and gets ran over by a goddamn fucking lawnmower, dude. It's fucking like so cringeworthy because you're like, dude, the lawnmower is moving, like in the movie is moving so slow. It's going like turtle speed. And they're like, don't stand. They're like, oh no, move. And then just fucking blood fucking.
Dude, I have it in my notes right here that like the whole time she's like, yeah, daddy, and this is how you move this and that, and the lawnmower's just like slowly going towards her. And at first Jeffrey's like, hey, don't stand in front of that. And then it gets closer, he goes, hey, don't stand in front of that. And then it's like about to eat her, and he goes, don't stand in front of that. Like he like really like, and she's like, ah. So she gets fucking chopped to bits, like absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's very gory. There's like, it's pieces everywhere.
Yeah, she gets absolutely mowed down. And then that's when we get this really awesome opening sequence of, like, Jeffrey, like, he's, like, planning on...
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, a
Well,
whole...
I will say also as, like, when he's planning out... So it's a whole... What they're planning... It's, like, a whole blueprint of how to, like, use electricity to bring a human body. Just like Frankenstein.
He's
Frankenhooker,
He's drawing over an anatomical map.
Yes.
And he's, like thinking out loud, and he's like, oh, I could put a couple hertz here, and then I could put that. No, that'll blow up the heart. No. Oh, but if I dial this back, and it's a really like cool sequence.
Well, I wanted to say, so I've worked on electricity quite a lot. I don't have.
Is this accurate?
Well, from what I heard of the movie, like as I understand electricity, like most of what he was saying made sense to me.
Really?
Well, yeah, because he was running through voltage. Like most of his conversation, from what I was high and drunk when I was watching this, by the way. But most of his conversation...
The whole movie is high and drunk.
Yeah, I just had to get in the zone for it. But majority of what he was talking about is like, he was talking about running the proper voltage to parts of the body.
And like, in the meantime, not exploding certain organs.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all about the amount of electricity that you give that part pertaining to the philosophy of the movie. I was honestly like, someone did their research and it like was like a real electrical diagram of how to wire up a human body. I'm not saying it would work. I'm just saying that's what it was drawn out. It was accurate. As far as I know electricity, which isn't very well, I'm just good enough to wire shit pretty much. I'm not good enough to really understand it. But it seemed like it would be just like, it was just a huge accurate electric diagram of how things should be wired.
That's super interesting to me because I don't know shit about electricity. I just like the artwork and and like how detailed. The camera.
Well, doesn't it give the artwork more life knowing that it was drawn up like with detail?
Well,
like
because
that?
I've seen this like 10 or 12 times now, and like I have thoughts like, I wonder how accurate this is. So that's interesting to hear that like there is like somewhat of merit, you know?
The terminology was there, that's for sure.
Yeah, so he's going over his blueprints of how to bring back his soon-to-be bride.
Which, by the way, he kept her head.
Yes.
This is how he's able to reanimate her body. He kept her head, and he has it preserved.
Well, so the CSI crime, like, they picked up everything from her except her head.
Right.
So, yeah, he's working on all these plans, and then he pulls out a giant medical book, and he opens it up, and it's hollowed out on the inside that has a VHS tape for some reason, and he pops it into his TV, and it's like recorded video of like
the incident.
The incident.
Of his fiance getting law mowed.
And then that's when you learn, because there's like people on screen, they're like, in a tragic event today, like local engaged woman gets ate to death by a lawnmower. Here's what the police have to say.
Dude, you're literally quoting the fucking movie. I'm
looking at you in the eyes. I'm not even looking at the
I know, dude. This guy, I don't even need to use sound bites. You can be all the sound bites for the fucking movie.
So, and then that's when the audience learns that, the Black Bobby never found the head. So, that's put into our brain. They're like, oh, they never found the head. They have everything else of her. That's weird.
But I guess that brings us to the scene of when his mom comes in to talk to him.
So, Jeffrey's mom interrupts his brooding, and she's worried about him. She's like, Jeffrey, you're obsessed. I know this nice girl down at the church and she's single and I think you guys will get along.
I'm pretty sure this was like a year after his fiance died.
Oh, that's a good question. I
don't even know if there was a timeline given. But I guess it fit me whole because it felt recent. At least in the context of the film, it felt relatively recent that this happened.
Right, like, leave me alone.
Right.
Well, I mean, like, I think in a normal case, it'd be like, hey, it's time to move on. But this guy's, like, growing brains and, like,
yeah, dude, and by the way, I want to point out that in this initial scene, I guess it's important to note that this brain doesn't come back into play, so we might as well cover it now. In the first moments of the movie, it's showing that he's pretty much trying to get this brain to have an eyeball, like a Cyclops. Like, this brain has an eyeball.
He's, like, fucking around with it.
He's fucking around. It fails drastically. It blows up. Like, the whole...
Yeah.
But in the scene that we're talking about now, and because the brain doesn't come up again, the brain's now living a good life in a fish tank. Like, it's just chilling there. And even the mom interacts with it, like, oh, how are you doing today? Like, like, fucking, like, it's really kind of, like, it's funny, but, like, it's disturbing. Because, like, this brain is, like, I believe there's actually, I'm probably quoting right here. The mom asks, well, what is it? And then Jeffrey says, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just fucking with it.
I have no fucking idea what I made.
Dude, you watched this movie like a week and a half. I'm really surprised of your memory, to be honest.
Oh, probably like 3 weeks, dude.
So yeah, she tries to give him a pep talk, and then you said, she's like, what is that? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just yep. And then
I'm like right on the money with that, aren't I?
So, but then he goes into this really interesting monologue about like life after death and all this stuff.
Oh,
and it's all one long shot. Like, he memorized a lot of lines.
No, this is a big spiel, because, like, I find that, like, most of the time the best acting is done non-monologue, right? Like, it's with interaction, because that's easier for actors to remember a conversation than it is a whole monologue like that. But he just sit there and nailed that shit, dude.
I mean, the only reason why I'm assuming that it's not ad-libbed or like made up on the spot is because like there was like a lot of big, like, he was like nailing points and he's like getting really emotional, and then there's like a 4-second pause, and then you remember what his mom says? She's like, you want me to make you a sandwich? or she either says that or she says, do you want a sandwich? And it makes me laugh every time. Whatever, Jeff is not into it, and then he goes, and then this is when you realize that in the garage he has like a super fucking laugh.
Yeah, no, like, I don't even think his mom knows what's going on in the garage too. I think that's implied.
I don't know, but I think she might know, but like, she loves her son so much that I think she might be like looking the other way. So
he has the literal Frankenstein laboratory in there. Pretty much has a cooler with a preservative. And this preservative is revealed at the end of the film, but it's pretty much like a blood substitute that has estrogen. The whole point is, like, it can only preserve like female body parts. Yeah. Is this what this is? So in that cooler, he has the head of Elizabeth, a hand, and I think a foot.
Yeah, he's got like
a couple body parts.
Yeah.
You want to explain the scene that he sets up the fucking meal?
Yeah, so this whole movie, he, like, when he's alone, he's talking to himself.
Like, in good monologue. Like, Shakespeare monologue.
Yeah.
Like the dinner we're about to talk about here in this scene is an insane monologue he has to a dead fucking crowd, dude.
A lot of these shots are, like, one long shot. Like, there's not a whole lot of edits.
No, not at all. Honestly, no. Those are, honestly, they all felt like, I wouldn't be surprised if those were long shots, because it just seemed that way, right? When you were watching that shot, it seemed that way.
Like, this movie does a great job of nailing exactly what they're going for. Yeah, but also, what I like here is, like, because they hint at him working for New Jersey Electric. Where would he get all this crazy technology? Well, he's probably stealing it from work. There's not too many loose ends in this, like, quote-unquote schlocky movie.
Oh, what loose ends? I don't think there's... I think it's a tight story. I don't think there's any loose ends.
While he's in the garage, to calm himself down, he opens the fridge, and then that's when we learn that he's the one that has Elizabeth's head.
Right.
And he's preserving it. And he has dinner over wine and pizza.
Yes. With her. And this is like... We can't obviously get in the monologue, but he has an extensive monologue with her dead. And I will say for the viewers that my personal favorite part of this scene...
Oh, this is the scene you're talking about? Okay.
No. This isn't the scene I'm talking about. But my favorite part about this scene is when he's giving the deadhead fucking...
suggestions of what she wants?
Yeah, suggestions what she wants, but no, it's when he pours wine in her mouth and then it comes out the fucking neck onto the fucking table and it's red wine and it just looks like fucking blood, dude.
I'm so happy you retained all this.
Oh, bro, I love the movie. I told you I didn't take notes because I was that interested in the movie.
I thought you were going to hate it.
No, bro.
Alright, yes. Yeah,
well, you probably just have that in your mind because so many people you showed it to in your life has hated the movie, though.
that's true.
But if you thought about who I am, you would have known I would have liked it.
Well, I don't know your movie preferences, really. Yeah, so he's like, there's his, like, dead fiance's head is, like, on a plate, and he's, like, holding up, like, Playboy magazines and shit, and he's like, hey, what do you think about these tits, huh? That'd be nice to have those,
dude.
Huh?
Seriously,
like, hey, what about these legs? Oh, those are good legs.
This is implied. So I have to say a point we haven't mentioned yet is that the whole theme of the story is like just like in Frankenstein, like the original Frankenstein novel. Yep. Like there was a freak electrical storm that the Dr. Frankenstein was able to harvest to reanimate the body of Frankenstein. So the same thing's going on in the movie. It's even on the news in the garage when he goes out there.
Yeah.
Like this freak electrical storm is about to fucking happen. So the whole premise of the movie is he's panicking because he only has like this one opportunity to get enough electricity to reanimate his dead wife. And this is how he's gonna do it, is through this electrical storm. Like that is a huge part of this movie. It expedites the movie. Like, he has a time frame in which to get this done.
Dude, that's so fucking interesting. I didn't know that you knew this much about movies.
What do you mean? I just watched that movie.
But the whole thing with the original Frankenstein, he's like, I have to put this body together by this time.
Yeah. The reason it's called Frankenhooker because
it's Frankenstein but with prostitutes.
But it sounds simple, but it's not. It's Frankenstein the entire story, but with a twist that it's the mad scientist trying to bring back a lover, and he can't reuse the lover's part because they got chopped up in the lawnmower.
Right.
That's what it's about. That's what the whole movie's about. It's beautiful.
I know. Thank you. I'm gonna give you a high five.
Yeah,
right there.
That's fucking beautiful.
Fucking right on the mic too. All right.
Hey,
so
you gotta give me a beer.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna hate this movie. I don't know.
No,
why.
I don't know why, man. It's you know, like, dude, don't get me wrong. Most of the time, I don't like gory shit like that, but I think this movie was so well written that like the gory shit that was happening wasn't really the movie, in my opinion. No. Like, the movie is the awesome acting. Like, the movie is, like, honestly, like I said earlier, like, it's put together, scene by scene, so well thought out. Yeah. So meticulous. Like, I don't really see that attention in detail in most movies nowadays.
No, this is, like, a 10 out of 10 acted, scripted movie that nobody watched, except for fucking Bill Murray.
So, moving on from the garage.
Yeah, so now, our main character, Jeff, he starts thinking, he's like, I have to bring my fiance back to life. How the fuck do I get these parts? He keeps calling it parts. He's like, I have to reconstruct Elizabeth. In his, like, lab, he has a weird spot in his brain.
So he's pretty much having a panic attack before he does this, right? Because he's convincing himself that he pretty much has to kill hookers to get the body parts he needs to reanimate his wife. But it's not implied. Like, the acting's so good that this isn't like something that's like brought out and said. Like, he's just talking. Well, you know, like, people die every day from crack. Like,
I have that whole monologue written.
Yo, dude, my point is, we're talking specifically about, because this behavior happens multiple times throughout the movie, and pretty much the aspect of it is the main character gives himself a lobotomy. But in particular, what you were talking about is like, he has a special spot in the brain. That's not it. If you look at that scene before, he's looking at a diagram of the brain that's
true.
That's labeled with numbers indicating what certain spots in the brain does. Yeah. So he was looking for the number to drill into his brain that would like help him think clearer.
I know what I need. I need to drill.
Yes, it's just like you said it. He fucking gives himself a lobotomy to cancel out his panic attack.
Yeah, and this is where he gets the idea. he fucks himself up with the drill, and he has this crazy monologue where he's like, I'm not gonna hurt these girls. I mean, they're all looking for drugs, and I got the drugs.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not out here trying to kill anybody. Any drug will kill you, but and he has this really disturbing realization. He's like, but this one will just speed up the process. He's like, look, they're gonna smoke crack anyway, and they're gonna die anyway.
Well, that actually comes later. That's the second lobotomy scene.
Oh, maybe that's...
No, the first lobotomy scene, he's just trying to calm himself down. Because then he looks for the hookers.
All right.
You know what I mean? Then he looks for the hookers. Then he has another lobotomy scene when he's cooking up the super crack for the hookers. Anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
That's good to note, though, because my next note is, this is when the movie starts to kick ass. So he convinces 7 hookers, drives down to the city, and he's
New York. He drives to New York.
Yeah, because he's a Jersey boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little bit of a theme in the movie.
Yeah. And he's like, I need some girls for a beauty contest. But they're like, all right, but you gotta talk to Zorro.
Before we continue, I wanted to say that, like, they were very... I've never gotten a prostitute, but to me, they were very well acted out prostitute scenes.
Dude, I mean... that's where all the budget went.
Yeah,
like, hey,
dude.
can you shake your titties around?
And dude, like, I mean, like, in these scenes, they probably have, like, 25 plus fucking hot chicks and
just naked and just doing stuff.
Yeah, dudes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like kudos to like all these actors too and actresses. Dude, it'd be hard for me to like be funny while my dick is out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all of them do such a good job. So
yeah, you're right. And he has money saved up, like, and shit. So he drives with a shit ton of cash, and pretty much these prostitutes want to do whatever they fucking want to get this cash.
But they have to take it up with their pimp, aka Zorro.
So Zorro's like a 6'10" fucking, just motherfucker.
Mammoth.
Like just
mammoth.
Just ripped beyond belief. Like Zorro. And he is a side character, but he is important too.
Did you realize that like all of his lines are ADR'd over? Do you know what ADR is?
No, what the fuck does that mean?
ADR is when after they shoot the scenes, they go over and they re-record over his voice with somebody else's voice.
So his voice was that bad that they did not use his voice?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's super obvious. I couldn't believe he didn't.
Well, the whole movie's corny. I just thought he might have been talking that way.
No.
So that's a different actor talking over his voice.
Absolutely,
That is very... Thanks for telling me that. That's interesting. Next time I watch the movie, I won't be able to get that out of my head.
So Zorro is slinging insane amounts of crack in the men's bathroom at a local bar. Everyone in this bathroom is smoking crack. This is the first...
Besides smoking crack, dude, like, the scene, like, when he... and obviously, it's... like, the main character, Jeffrey, right?
Yep.
Loves his fiance. Like, being in this whole sex house is obviously making the character super fucking awkward.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, as if I would be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's still deeply in love, and that's why he brings...
He doesn't want to be there.
Her back to life, but in that scene... like the peak of his awkwardness is like, in the background when they just have that random fucking threesome in the stall that keeps opening. Yeah. So pretty much it's not even a threesome. It's funny as fuck. Honest. So it's a guy.
It's like two people fucking and one guy watching.
No. But the guy who was watching smoking crack was also closing the bathroom stall over and over again. It was so fucking funny, dude.
It's just such a weird... It blows my mind. Like, in a movie this early, where we're getting this much footage of people smoking crack.
Yeah, and then, like, just pure... I kind of get the rating fucking thing, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but...
But moving on. Like, anyway, so he gets permission from Zorro to pretty much have a group of women because he has enough money to pay for it.
Just in my notes, I was like, I just cannot believe how much crack smoking was happening in this fucking movie. And it doesn't stop here. It keeps going.
Oh, it does. And to be honest, like, When you first look at the scene, you think people are just smoking cigs, but really everybody in the scene's smoking crack.
So Jeff approaches Zorro, and Zorro, which I said, which is re-recorded over in post. So Jeff straight up buys like 5 pounds of crack off this guy. I mean, that's a lot of crack.
No, dude, he just
he bought like a whole fucking bag.
Of crack. I know. After the crack, he pretty much goes back to his lab in the garage, and he tries to refine this crack to be like a super crack. Like a crack that kills immediately. Because the whole point is he wants to kill these hookers.
Yes.
To get the body parts off these hookers to use for his wife before the storm happens that he can electrocute the body.
So his whole thing, he's like, alright, I don't want to hurt these women. I just want to kill them fast. And if I show up with this crack, then they'll smoke it and they'll just... It's a good scene.
And what happens after the hamster inhales his super crack?
This is when he gives the monologue. He goes, I mean, it's not like I'm committing murder. I'm not killing anybody. The crack is what's gonna kill him. Hell, it's killing him already. I'm just speeding up the process, that's all. I'm not shooting anyone, I'm not stabbing anyone, I'm merely gonna place the lethal form of crack in their presence. They don't have to take it. Nobody has a gun to their head. If they don't want to do it, they can. Just say no. That's what he said. Anyway, so he concocts super crack. And here's where we're introduced into Dr. Jersey Boy. And he meets up with a whole gang of hoes.
Wait. You didn't answer my question. What happens after the hamster hits the crack? Because this is important.
Oh, it explodes.
Yeah, it explodes violently. So pretty much anything
with like blood and everything.
Anything that smokes this crack fucking blows up violently.
Yeah.
Yep. I just had to put that out there.
So he meets up with all these gang of hoes to measure. I mean, he's like measuring their pants, and he's picking out like their boobs and like armpits and everything. Cause he has Elizabeth, and he's like, well, I could get my fiance back, but maybe I could get, like, the perfect woman back.
Well, that's not it. Like I said, like, most of her body parts got cut up. They don't exist anymore.
He can't recover
Yeah,
her
so
old.
he has to use body parts from other people for this project.
And then in my notes here, I said, first time I saw this movie, I really thought it was going to turn into a full-blown porno flick. I was so fucking confused, yet completely invested at the same time. That's the first thing that happened to me the first time I ever saw this fucking movie. There is so much fucking female nudity in this movie.
Honestly, there's a lot. And I will also say, like, they made the prostitutes, like, look like prostitutes. Like, every prostitute. And this is important because I believe he kills 7 hookers. Right?
That's dude, it's more than 7. Like,
no, I think it's 7. I think he brings 7 prostitutes back. Anyway, so he gets his hookup with Zorro, and Zorro sends 7 prostitutes. And the whole time, he's, like, measuring the prostitutes' legs, like, looking for the perfect body parts to reanimate his dead girlfriend from these prostitutes.
Yeah. Because they're like, oh, Dr. Jersey Boy wants to have a beauty pageant. And he's, like, fucking, like, measuring up their legs and arms and stuff. And then this is around where the time also he's like, okay, I don't need to kill these broads with super crack. I just need the measurements. And then Zorro is downstairs and he's like, where the fuck are my broads? You know?
No, wait. You're mixing it up. What happens first in that scene is that fucking Jeffrey, prostitutes start getting fucking, like, pissed off, like, irritated.
Yeah, they're like, wrap it up, Jersey Boy. Do we have your perfect girl or not?
Jersey Boy is like, oh, well, fucking, you just have the money. And he opens up his fucking briefcase, and the crack falls out.
Well, that's what I'm getting to, yeah.
Well, it's not until after that happens that Zorro's like, what's taking so long?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? That's all. I mean, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So my next note is the hoes getting patient. Until Jeff, his time is almost up, start demanding money. Honestly, for such a schlocky script and goofy idea, most of these actors and actresses are acting their asses off. It's kind of unexpected when you walk into a movie called Frankenhooker, You just don't expect that kind of commitment from a movie like this.
And I'll agree to that, because in that scene, like, you can see, like, the prostitutes who are, like, getting visibly, like, irritated and shit. Like, they're all standing around doing a great job
really
setting
good.
the scene. Yeah. Anyway, so the hookers see the crack bag, and then they all start smoking the crack.
Yeah. The hoes find the super crack, and Jeff is freaking the fuck out. He's like, no, I take it back. Don't smoke that, ladies. Don't smoke that. And they're all like, wow, Jersey boys got crack. And they start fucking smoking up this crack. And he's like, no, please don't smoke the crack.
Yeah, so at this scene, I wanted to bring up that I think it's funny. Like, he set out to, like, literally kill hookers with crack, but that scene shows that even as fucked up as, I mean, this guy put a drill into his brain. He's
deranged.
He's extremely fucked up. But even then, he's showing that, like, he really didn't want to do it. Like, he really didn't want to kill the hookers.
This is his only option.
Yeah. But he was even saying, like, don't do it. Like, don't do it. But what makes me say that is he chose to give him the money instead of the crack as payment. The crack fell out of the bag, showcasing that fucking he wasn't probably going to go through with it. He was just going to go to extremes as far as he could without killing somebody. Maybe go to a morgue or something was his plan originally.
He morally gave him a reason if he had to use it, but he was like, well, maybe I don't have to use it.
Right, exactly.
But these hookers fucking use it. And
oh boy. The hamster blew up after smoking crack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think happens to the hookers now?
So they find the super crack. Jeff is freaking the fuck out. None of them listen to him. He's like, no, don't smoke it, don't smoke it. They peel out the crack pipes and they start smoking it. By the way, the whole time they're fucking naked.
Yes, they are naked for the most part. Most of them have bottoms on. It's just mostly tits, if I remember right.
But it's still quite I mean, there's like 24 different fucking pairs of boobs on the movie. I mean, it's...
No, there's a lot of boobs. You see a lot of boobs. And we'll get to that in a second, actually. We'll get to that.
One by one, they all start to smoke this crack.
Yeah, yep.
And these hoes explode into ligaments.
Blow up. Like, and they're blowing up one by one. So you get like 7 individual hookers blowing up in the next sequence of what happens. And I want to point out, before we go on too much further, that this is where one of my personal favorite, like, just pure scene of the movie comes in, is when the hookers start blowing up, and, like, all these hookers are wearing high heels and shit, you know, trying to look like they're clearly dressed like pure prostitutes, like.
And this was probably filmed 89.
Yeah, like back in the day, like, it fit the theme perfectly, you know. One of the hookers' legs blow up, and it flies like a missile, and the heel.
Oh yeah.
And the heel sticks into the fucking wall like a bow and arrow, like hitting a target. Dude, that is like one of my favorite. Like, how genius! Like, yes. You have fucking, like, from a creative standpoint, I'm looking at it like, well, you have hookers blowing up, and you choose to send a leg from a heel into the wall. Genius. That was just genius in my fucking opinion, dude.
I'm telling you, dude.
I love that fucking scene, dude.
This whole movie had kind of a bigger budget opposed to like other like weird B movies, and they took advantage of it. Yeah, this whole scene is fucking awesome.
It's shot in a lot of it's shot in slow mo. Like you get really big. You get big fucking effects. You know.
Yeah.
This scene, honestly, like this scene, probably like $1.75 million of the budget probably went into this scene alone.
And I don't have this in my notes right now, but I'm just remembering that, like, the whole time, like, after, like, all these whores blow up, he's, like, feeling guilty, and he's like, jeez. And he's, like, picking up the limbs.
He's like, well, this whole notion, like, he
doesn't want to do it. He loves Elizabeth so much.
But there's an under theme to this, too. He's thinking that he can bring all these hookers back to life.
Yeah, he's like, I'll bring you back, I promise.
So, before we continue, I want to bring up the scene. So, like, the main hooker, like, the first hooker he talked to, like, realizing...
You want a date? You looking for some action?
Exactly. She's trying to fucking, like, stab him.
Yeah.
Like, because she realizes everyone's blowing up from the crack they smoked. So
Yeah.
she tries to cut his throat, and she blows up before that happens. I just like that part, too.
She smoked the super crack as well.
Anyway, what I was saying is, so he picks up all these hooker parts, right?
Yeah. And my favorite part about him picking up these parts is, like, he's feeling bad for every part.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, he has a garbage bag. He's like, oh, jeez. Oh, I'm sorry, Torsi. Oh, jeez. And he's, like, picking up an arm. He's like, oh, the blonde one. My favorite part, he, like, picks up, like, a fucking foot. He's like, oh, God, not the Chinese girl. Oh, my God. And he's, like, putting it in the bag.
Dude, it's just like that, dude. Like, he's, like, fucked up his head, but he, like, still feels like that human sympathy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's not lost throughout the movie. That, like, he's obviously fucked up, but he obviously shows some remorse or some sympathy for what's going on around him.
So he climbs out the fire escape, and then Zorro busts in and just sees gore.
And then a hooker blows up.
Yeah.
And that's a big part because it knocks out Zorro. So Zorro, the pimp, cannot, chase after Jeffrey immediately.
Yeah. And this is where I made a note here. I was like, again, the special effects is actually...
top tier. In the scenes that it needed to be top tier. I mean, not to mention, like, you know, we're about to cover in a second, so I'll say it anyway, like, fucking the lightning effects in this film are honestly, like, S tier, bro. Like, they fucking look phenomenal. I mean, and I always judge movies in the aspect of the era in which they were made. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna compare.
Thank you for that.
I'm not gonna compare it to modern day shit.
Yeah.
But at that time, to me, that was probably the best lightning effect of all movies at the time.
And for $2 million, $2 million sounds like a lot of money, but like...
It's not. It's not when you think about it. Like, dude, on most low tier B films, like, the actors are working for fun. Like, they're not actually making money. To get
just
good,
like this podcast.
to get a good cast, you gotta pay for it. And I think majority of the budget in that film went to pay the cast. And then they went, you know, they had to be cheaper on the set and shit, you know?
Yeah, get a better cast. I'm getting bored of being here. Anyway.
Oh, are you really?
No, I love
you
this.
call your mom! Get picked up! See if I give a fuck!
I've never gotten more got than that in my entire life. So anyway, so Jeffrey immediately regrets his decision. And, he's picking up the parts, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so now he goes back to his mom's garage. And I'm going to do this to you in my mom's garage. And he...
Oh, dude, that's fucked up. Your mom doesn't have a garage. Fuck you.
And he starts sorting through parts and proceeds with operation to reconstruct his ex-wife, Elizabeth. Sorts through a pile of boobs and legs and a panic. Like, the whole time, he's, like, freaking the fuck out. He's like, I have to make this fucking broad tonight, you know? And then after he fucking sews her all together, he...
So, just to be clear... I want to explain the scene where he's sorting through the parts to choose for his wife. Because this is a scene where you see, like what, fucking, like, 6 or 8 fucking cut off titties.
Boobs.
And he's fucking, like, he's, like, holding them in his hand, like, deciding which one to sew back on his wife.
Yeah.
Or his fiance. And... So he does that with all the body parts. He sorts through all the body parts. He does the arms, legs, torso, and just picks the most, like, the hottest body he could fucking pick out, pretty much.
And then, after he does that, he hoists the corpse up.
Wait, after he does that, this is important for later.
The spark hits the cooler?
No, well, the spark hits the cooler, that's true, but he has to put the dead bodies... parts in the cooler for the spark. So he puts all the remaining hooker parts in a cooler with the liquid that was preserving his dead fiance's fucking head and other body parts.
Yep. And then, in true Frankenstein fashion, he lifts her up in the air and he opens up the top of the garage and then sparks hit her like a motherfucker. Then he brings her back down, and then this is when he realizes...
Oh, that was that lightning scene we were talking about earlier. Like, this lightning scene is
this whole scene
outrageous.
is great.
And I want to talk about, like, obviously, I can't really explain to you how it looks because it's fucking lightning. Like, dude, just the lightning effects in this scene is, like, everywhere. It's outrageous, and it looks fucking awesome. And the moment that the lightning hits Elizabeth's sewn together corpse thing, it's a really like a chimera of body parts, right?
Dude, and the set design throughout this whole movie is so fucking on point.
Oh,
like,
outrageous, man.
Like,
let's not mention how outrageous that scene was. Look at how high, like, that scene where it's showing, like, where Elizabeth's platform comes out of the roof of the ground. Dude, it's so outrageous. It looks like it goes, like, a fucking mile in the fucking sky,
and
bro.
that was 2D animation.
I know, it looks fucking good, though, man.
It looked good, but, like, good. You know, you had it. So that's where all the budget went towards the special effects, I guess. But, like, I don't know how they got these actors to, like...
Well, that's my question on this film. And, you know, we'll answer this after the podcast. My question is, did the actors get paid more and they cheaped out on effects? Or did the effects get paid more and they cheaped out on the actors when they acted so good in that film?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I have no idea. Dude, all right, you know what? So the lightning strikes the corpse. And the corpse, did you notice in that scene? So, by the way, like I said, this platform's like a mile in the fucking sky. Did you notice that the lightning changes color when it strikes the body?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it changes to green. After it charges the body for so long, it changes fucking color, and then it lowers down. And then Elizabeth, or what we think is Elizabeth.
We are presented with the main character of this movie. The best thing about this movie.
Most of the movie has already gone by the time.
Yeah, this is like over
that
an
the actual Frankenhooker gets introduced. It's already gone by.
So Jeff sees Elizabeth like coming back down on like the slab, like descending from the lightning, and he thinks that he just like brought her back to life, and he's so excited, and he's like, "Oh my God, Elizabeth, I can't wait to marry you, and I'm so excited you're back." And then she just goes, "How many money? You want a date?"
So she pretty much is repeating things that certain hookers said. Like, each hooker pretty much has a punchline that they said, and all those body parts of those hookers...
Looking for some action?
Exactly. Dude, they just say it fucking...
Do you have any money?
Over and over, but then she gets in the fact that she has to get back to Zorro for some crack.
Yeah, and then he goes, "What? No, Elizabeth. Damn, what?"
And, well, the whole scene, you remember the bus scene? Like,
yeah.
The Frankenhooker, Elizabeth, is riding the bus, and she's just saying what my boy Dylan here was just saying.
"You want a date? You got any money?"
Just to random people on the bus, and it was like a really good scene.
You looking for some action? Yeah, but before she like Jeffrey's like, "What? Elizabeth? No!" And then she just like kicks him in the face and knocks him out and just keeps walking, and she starts walking down the road in this like insane manner, and now we're introduced to Frankenhooker. Yeah, and she gets on the bus, and like literally every person she bumps into, she's like, "You want a date? You looking for action? You got any money?" And everyone's like, "Get out of here, you fucking whore."
It was like that. But before she gets back to Zorro, she finds a client.
Yeah, dude, so this is when she encounters one of the best characters in the movie, credited as Frankenhooker's date, played by David Littman, who went on to have a super long career in TV.
Oh, no shit. So we didn't even mention this guy at the beginning, and honestly, I kind of forgot about him until we got to this point.
He did like weird shit, like, oh, I'm in love, yes! This fat guy with like no hair. Jeff wakes up unconscious, and he's like shouting up, and he's like, "Elizabeth, Elizabeth!" And then he's like, "Oh my God, she's a fucking hooker!" Like he like puts it together in his brain, and he starts going downtown towards her way. And then she starts to just walk around. She's like, "You looking for a date? You want any action? Got any money?"
Dude, and honestly, you guys should go on to watch the movie, but that is your voiceover of the hooker quotes are pretty fucking.
So then she
legit,
meets
dude.
the short fat guy, and he's like, "Oh yes."
And by the way, Frankenhooker looks like a total atrocity, total train wreck. Like she can't walk straight. Like she's obviously like clearly fucked up and cannot like use her body like how they would, you know.
By the way, she's still hot.
Oh, by the way,
and all that makeup, she's still fucking hot.
She gorgeous. Like what a dime piece, man. And you know what? Like it's hard for me to even say somebody's like that girl. Like clearly was an attractive person. Like
and her like comedic timing and like physical comedy is like so unmatched.
Oh
like,
man, like I think the whole perfect job. 10 out of 10.
So she takes this dude to a sleazy motel, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's all fucking weird." And then the second she like sits on top of him, she just like explodes his head off.
Yeah, so the effects in the movie indicate that she she had residual electricity left in her, and the guy's head pretty much exploded from an influx of electricity.
And when she's on top of him, she starts saying stuff about Jeffrey, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
So,
that was the first scene in the movie that like gave viewers a look that like, oh well, maybe Elizabeth is still in there. Because up until this point in the movie, it's all been Hooker's actions, words, but it was when she was riding this guy.
She said something. I don't remember what she said, but she's like, "Jeffrey?" And he's like, "What?" And then he busts a nut, and then his head just like explodes off.
I believe he says something like, "That was great," or something.
Yeah, he's like,
that.
"That was amazing."
Yeah, dude. Yeah, literally, something like that.
Yeah, so her whole motive is to just like fuck dudes and like take their wallets. There was a weird rapist in the hallway, and
dude, you're right. So right after she got done digging out this dude,
yep,
she goes out in the fucking hallway, and then another dude tries to hook up with her pretty much, and
that guy was the other previous dude from this director's film, Brain Dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's really good in that too.
Was he like? Did he have a bigger role in Brain Dead?
No, it was kind of same like raper role, but like.
Well, he played it. He
plays it well.
He played a good creep. I will say that.
Yeah, and and then his head just gets like electrocuted, and then it flies out of a window into a fucking trash can. It was awesome. And then
that scene's awesome too. That's a great scene.
So like this whole like this electrical hooker, it's like if you stick your dick in her, you're just gonna explode one way or another. But yeah, so Jeff, he's so looking for Elizabeth, and he stops by some work. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this girl? She's like purple and everything." And they're like, "Fuck off." He doesn't know. And then Elizabeth continues just like fucking around the block and doing her thing. And she finally finds her way into a bar that Zorro happens to be sitting at. And at this point, I wrote down her performance is unreal. Her muscle memory spots a bowl of pretzels, and she starts like digging into them.
But yeah, she digs into this big bowl of pretzels. And then the bartender makes the same comment that her mother made to her at the birthday party, like, "Oh, you shouldn't eat all those pretzels. They're not good for you. Or it'll make you fat." I forget how it goes. Bartender says the same exact line, and then Frankenhooker growls.
Yeah, she goes like, "Hey, honey, those will make you fat," and then she just goes, "Argh," and like growls at her.
Yeah, dude.
And then the bartender's like, "What the fuck?" and like goes back to like making drinks.
Anyway, but that weird guy tries picking her up.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'll eat your pussy under the table," or whatever.
Yeah, so there's this like weird side and it's actually a pretty lengthy scene considering at this part of the movie, I want to say like 65% of the movie did not have the actual Frankenhooker in it.
I actually forget, like...
You're pretty far into the movie. You're over halfway by the time you get to Frankenhooker.
I forgot to... No, we're already in Frankenhooker. She's already, like...
No, I mean, but, like, in the whole duration of the movie, you're over halfway viewing
Doesn't
the movie.
he, like, try to, like, eat her pussy and his head explodes?
He is eating her pussy, and his head explodes. That's how that scene ends. That's how that scene ends.
I forgot to mark that scene, but that does happen here.
Yeah, that does 100% happen. So after the guy's head explodes, she goes in a separate room. But anyway, Zorro comes in, and what was his name?
Zorro.
It was Zorro. He looks like a Zorro. Great name.
His name is Zorro.
Oh, perfect.
So the reason why Zorro recognized her as one of his hoes in the first place is one of the hookers that blew up. So, like, all of his hookers have a Z branded on their arms.
Right. Well, not much of that. Before he realized it was actually his hookers, he said to Frankenhooker before the one dude picked him up, he's like, that's something one of my hoes would say.
Right, yeah.
So he kind of got thinking before that.
When Jeffrey reassembled his wife, or soon-to-be wife, he used an arm that had the Z logo on it. So he's like, that's one of my hoes. I cannot believe it. You know, like his ADR is really bad. Jeff rushes in last minute to find Elizabeth, damn near decapitated.
So, this is an important scene. So, Zorro comes in and starts fighting Frankenhooker. And he uppercuts Frankenhooker, and the stitches around her head get separated from the torso. Yeah. But this is an important note, because this also discharges all the electricity that was killing all these people throughout the film. This takes away her life pretty much. She's back to being just dead parts after she gets uppercutted. But because Zorro ends up getting knocked out from the electrical discharge that from the uppercut there, you know. And so the main character's able to get the body and take it back to the garage.
Yeah.
Where he restores life.
Well, wait, we're missing a huge part.
What part?
So, in the scuffle, Zorro runs up behind Jeffrey and fucking lobs his head off.
No, that's after.
Is that after?
That's after he gets back to the garage and reanimates
okay.
Elizabeth. So, pretty much what happens is he takes the dead body of Elizabeth back to the garage. He puts her back up to the machine and gets electricity back into her, and she wakes up. But this time, she's actually Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. This time, she doesn't have any of the hooker voices.
She's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Jeffrey, what's going on?
And well, an important scene is, I forget the actual quote, but like at the end of the conversation, she was like, why would you do this to me? This isn't my body.
Yeah.
This isn't my whatever, you know.
Which is true. Could you imagine?
Yeah, but that has important roles in the very end scene of the film was coming
Where's my Johnson?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where's my fucking Johnson? So pretty much while Jeffrey is talking to Elizabeth, and she's still chained up. Like, she's still to the device. Like, she's not able to move. She was put in, like, these straps and shit to electrocute her pretty much back to life. So, Zorro comes in after all that shit, picks up a knife. He didn't even bring in a knife. There was, like, a knife sitting on the table. He picks up the knife and lops off Jeffrey's head.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which, did you expect that?
Did I expect it quite like that? No, but I definitely...
You thought he was gonna die, though?
Well, I knew Zorro was gonna come back.
That shit caught me way off guard.
Not for me, because I knew he got blasted. He obviously wasn't killed in that electrical blast. I saw him coming back.
Well, I knew...
one last time.
Yeah.
And so, like, the method, yeah. I expect him coming with, like, a gun or something, you know, or coming with his own machete or some shit. Or just punch him, because this dude... Compared to the actor that played Jeffrey, like, Zorro was, fucking 3 feet higher than him? Like,
you could just knock his block off.
Like, dude, this dude would have just fucking eaten Jeffrey in a fucking fight. I kind of expected, because Zorro punched Elizabeth, or Frankenhooker at the time, to knock her fucking head off her body. Yeah. I expected it to be more like a fist thing when he came back later in the movie. I didn't expect him to pick up some random knife stuff that Jeffrey left out on the table in his lab and then just come up behind Jeffrey and lop off his head.
The first time I saw this movie, I definitely thought he survived, but I didn't think he was going to show up now. And I didn't know he was going to lob off Jeffrey's head. Like, he fucking, like, really cleans that shit off.
But the scene, I thought, was done really well. Because you're right, they captured... And I wonder how many takes it took to get that perfect shot.
That's where the budget went.
Because fucking, dude... It is, like, the perfect, like, fucking slash. Like,
yep.
You can see it's slow. The scene is slowed down enough that the viewer, like, most viewers can pick up the machete or the knife. It's really a knife that fucking comes through this scene. And it's just so fluid.
Yep.
Like, the whole scene, like, the whole slash through the neck is just so fucking fluid. It's just... whoosh. And that shit's fucking bad. It looks badass on camera, like.
Yep.
And the view, the scene for people that just listen to this episode and don't actually go watch the fucking movie.
Because we don't have a video option.
God damn it,
motherfucker!
Fucking Zorro comes up from behind.
Yeah.
This is a backwards decapitation. Like, Zorro comes up from behind Jeffrey. Jeffrey doesn't even know what's going on. And I just, that's a great scene.
Do you want to follow up on your thoughts of the cooler at the end?
Well, that's where I was heading, yeah. So you guys remember that electrical storm that fucking, that brought Frankenhooker to life? During that exact same moment of that electrical storm, electricity also struck the cooler that, had all the dead hookers' body parts that weren't used in Elizabethan. And so,
yeah.
They were all brought back to life. And
Fuck yeah, they were.
They even hint at it in the movie. Like, the cooler's moving after Jeffrey leaves the garage to go track down Frankenhooker with. Like, this is already set up. So, Jeffrey's already dead. Frankenhooker, which is now purely Elizabeth, with Elizabeth's brain, is sitting here observing all this shit.
You want a date? You have any money?
Well, now she's above that. She's above that at this point. At the end of the movie, she's actually Elizabeth.
You're right.
But anyway, the fucking cooler, what happens is, Frankenhooker or Elizabeth breaks out one of the restraints and, like, knocks Zorro on the ground. And then crack falls out of Zorro's pocket. And all the body parts in the cooler...
More crack!
Fucking... Yeah, exactly. Fucking sense the crack, and they get into a frenzy. They knock over the cooler, and the cooler... It's a chest freezer. So it's something... The whole thing it's a chest freezer. It's something you gotta, like, dig into to get shit out, you know? It spills over. The fucking... All these dead body parts come out, and they're abominations. They're mutations. They are a
pile of mush and limbs.
Yeah, but, like, you got, like, hands and boobs that form mouths. Yep. And just, like, absurd shit. Very absurd shit. But these are pretty much, like, grotesque creations that were incubated in this cooler, you know?
And then it eats Zorro.
Yeah, so Zorro fell on the ground due to Elizabeth knocking him over. And all these body parts come out looking for the crack. And not only do they eat Zorro, is they
fuck him up.
They gang up on Zorro, and then one of the final scenes in the movie are them dragging Zorro back into this cooler. And then the cooler shuts the door. Yep. And then that's the end of that. Yep. Like, all these things are just, like, doing something with Zorro in this cooler. Which, mind you, all the fluid that they were living in spilt out when the cooler spilled out.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, the question is, will those things even still be alive after they eat Zorro? Like, it's crazy implications.
Well, all that female juice that spilled out.
Right. So
has something to do with the last scene of the movie.
Yes. So, like we said before, the juice that was in the cooler could only preserve female body parts because the logic was that it was a very rich substrate of nitrogen. They had a lot of... not nitrogen, I'm an idiot. Fucking estrogen.
Estrogen.
Yeah, estrogen. Yeah, a lot of estrogen fucking in the fucking...
And nitrogen.
So, and he even says that before he dies, before Jeffrey dies, he says to Elizabeth, like, well, I can only preserve fucking female body parts. Like, it does, what I use, the solution only has enough estrogen.
She's basically like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he wakes up.
No, yes. So, it turns out the Frankenhooker, Elizabeth, and the biggest twist in the movie, Jeffrey wakes up. He wakes up.
Where's my Johnson?
Yeah, pretty.
Where the fuck is my Johnson?
The Elizabeth reanimated Jeffrey with remaining
With
hooker,
boobs and a pussy.
right, with remaining hooker body parts that were in that cooler. She went back into the cooler, and before she does that, like after the fucking guy gets eaten, there's a scene of Elizabeth picking up Jeffrey's head, like, don't worry, honey. I have just the solution. Like, I'm gonna fix all our problems. Or something along those lines. Brings Jeffrey back to life and body much like her own. Disconfigured body of random hooker parts.
And you can't blame her either, because she's like, I didn't ask to be introduced to this body. Well, anyway, that was Frankenhooker.
That was Frankenhooker.
My thing with this movie is, yeah, it's schlocky and it's bloody and it's weird, but like, a lot of people look over it. It's like, no, you should definitely check this one out.
To me, the movie's a satire on Frankenstein, and I think it's done in a genius way.
It's such a fucking fun movie. Like,
I think fun is the perfect word to describe Frankenhooker. It is one of the most fun movies I've ever watched, fucking ever. Anyway, thank you for listening, but as always, I would like to remind everybody who bothers to listen to this show to don't like, don't subscribe, don't leave comments.
That's a horrible business model.
It's not a business model. This is a lifestyle, okay?
I think you should do the up.
Good night, everybody. You want to say good night?
No.
Hey, we already said it in the episode, but this is a more stern reminder to don't like, don't subscribe, don't leave comments, don't pay us any mind. And if your day sucked today, I hope it doesn't suck tomorrow.